Welcome. My name is Israel Becker. I'm the rabbi of Congregation Chafetz Chaim and director of the Southwest Torah Institute, Naomi Adir Center for Jewish Education, here in Tucson, Arizona. Thank you for joining us today for our presentation of From Apple Pie to Falafel. At the burning bush, the Torah says, Vayar Hashem, and God saw, Kisar Liros, that Moses turned to see. And our rabbis explain what happened. What does it mean when we say he turned to see? That generated, that immediately God appeared to Moses in the burning bush and appointed him to be the leader of the Jewish people and to become the greatest teacher of all time. What does it mean when the Torah says, and God saw that he turned to see? He turned to see the pain of the Jewish people. He felt their anguish. That is why God chose Moses to be the leader, not because of his vision, not because of his other amazing attributes, but because of the pain that he felt for his fellow Jew. When a famine developed in Egypt, our forefather Jacob decided to send 10 of his sons to Egypt to pursue food. And the Torah says how they came before Joseph. And Joseph asked them, "Who are you?" Their immediate response was, "Achim, kulanu achim anachnu." We're all brothers. B'nei ish echad. We're all brothers, the sons of one man. The Torah is teaching us this is the way we must feel towards each other. Achim anachnu, we're all brothers. And when you study the Torah and you see later the blessings that Jacob gave to his sons, you see they were all different. Their temperaments were different. The way they acted was different, but they were united. They loved each other. Kulanu b'nei ish echad. As a matter of fact, the Ramban Nachmanides asks a question. If it was dangerous on the road, why did Jacob send all of the sons to Egypt? And he answers because he wanted the family to be together. He wanted his sons to remain together. What does it mean? How do you define we're all one? All Jews are one. How do you define it? The Jerusalem Talmud gives a beautiful parable. If imagine you have in your right hand a knife and you're cutting something and by accident you cut into your left hand. Now, would you take your left hand and then cut into your right hand and say, "How did you do that to me?" Or would you smack your right hand and say, "How did you do that to me?" Of course you wouldn't, because your right hand and your left hand is all one. It's all part of one body. So too, we as Jews are all one body, one soul. My Rebbe, my teacher of blessed memory, Rabbi Henoch Leibowitz, the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivas Chafetz Chaim, the Rabbinical Seminary of America, he explained, based on this Jerusalem Talmud, that clearly we have that capacity to feel this kind of love and oneness with one another. And there are many Jews, he said, that say, "Oh, I love the Jewish nation. I love Am Yisrael. I love the Jewish people." But that's not true love for the Jewish people. True love for the Jewish people is beyond Avas Am Yisrael, the people of Israel. Avas B'nei Yisrael, the children of Israel. We've got to love one another. as family members. You know, there are people who go to Israel and they get so excited. I love Israel. I love Israel. They come back with t-shirts. I love Israel. But that's one step. But there's another step. And there's a bigger step. To love, of course, Israel, but the people of Israel, the Jews in Israel, each and every individual Jew. Kulanu b'nei ish echad. We're all one. We're all brothers. When Jacob was returning with his family to the land of Israel, there was a threat of an attack by Esau. And the Torah says, Jacob said, Im yavo Esav al hamachaneh ha'achas v'hikahu v'haya hamachaneh hanishar lefleta. Jacob divided his family into two separate groups, and he said that if Esau comes and destroys one, the other group will live on, the other group will survive. In our day, the survivors of the Holocaust are called fittingly the same words that Jacob used. They are called she'eris hapleta, the survivors who lived on. After the decimation of Jewry in Europe, the surviving Jews, the she'eris hapleta, moved primarily to two places in the world, the United States and Israel. As a matter of fact, today, there are approximately 15 million Jews in the world. 1/3 of all the Jews are in America. 1/3 of all the Jews are in Israel, and the rest are in different places in the world. How do we, as Jews in the land of apple pie, how do we relate and how do we develop a feeling of love for our fellow Jews in Israel, the land of falafel, and to Jews the world over? How do we do this? In order to answer this question, we need to rewind back to the splitting of the sea. And there, just before we sang this famous song together with Moses, the Torah says, Vayar Yisrael es hayod hagedola. The Jewish people saw the great hand of God. Vayiru ha'ames Hashem, and then the people feared God. Vaya'aminu b'Hashem, and then they believed in God and Moses, his servants. They saw the hand of God. Then they believed in God and in Moses, his servant. Rabbi Nissen Alpert, one of the greatest students of Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, both of blessed memory, asked the following question. Here at the splitting of the sea, the Torah tells us that the Jewish people saw the hand of God. Yet, in Egypt, do you remember when the Egyptians finally, they just had it? And they went to Pharaoh and they said, Pharaoh, you gotta get to Moses. You gotta get the plagues to stop. You gotta send the Jewish people out. Because they said to Pharaoh, it's the finger of God. So Rabbi Alpert of blessed memory asked, what's the difference between a hand and a finger? Before I answer that question, I'd like to tell you a story. During the past 10 years, Jewish tourism in Western Europe has very much increased. There are many Jews that are interested in going back to Italy, to France, even to Spain, and trying to explore Jewish life centuries ago. There is an excellent teacher in New York, in a yeshiva, Darkei Torah. His name is Rabbi Leibish Langer. And in 2005, he was in Israel, and people told him, advised him, they said, look, you're good, you know history, you're a great educator. Why don't you take a trip, join a tour to Italy, and see what it's like, and then maybe you could lead groups of Jews to Italy. So he did that. In 2005, on the way back from Israel, he joined a tour in Italy, and he found himself at the Arch of Titus. And he's there with this Jewish group, and he sees and hears next to him another group. It's a group of Hungarians, and they are being led by a tour guide who is speaking to them in Hungarian. And he pointed to the Arch of Titus. The Arch of Titus has the symbol of the menorah that the Romans took out of the Holy Temple. And it shows a triumphant parade of Jewish slaves carrying remnants from the Holy Temple, being enslaved by the Romans. This Hungarian guide, he says, you see the images of the Jews on this arch? You should know that Titus got rid of all the Jews. The Jews today, you claim to be Jews, they have nothing to do with those people. Those people were gone. As a matter of fact, you see on this arch, you see an image of Titus with wings. He was such a great leader that when he died, he ascended to heaven with wings. Rabbi Langer is listening to this, and unbeknown to the guide, Rabbi Langer descends from Hungarian Jews, and he speaks Hungarian flawlessly. And he said to himself, there must be a reason why Hashem brought me here today now. And he goes over to the guide in flawless Hungarian, and he says, would it be okay if I address the group? And the guide had no choice. And he said, yes, of course. And he turned to the group, Rabbi Langer, and he said, look at the Jews that you see marching here. I am descended from them. And the Jews today are descended from them. The Jewish people are alive, and the Jewish people are thriving. And what happened to Titus? Well, we are standing on the ruins of Titus's Roman Senate. There is nothing left of them. The Roman Empire is gone, but the Jewish people survive. And as far as Titus being so great, he was a merciless tyrant. He killed thousands and thousands of people. He entered the Holy Temple in Jerusalem and performed the worst immoral acts. I strongly doubt if he ascended to heaven. The group burst out in applause. Now let's get back to our questions. How do we develop a feeling of profound, deep love for one another? And the other question, how do we understand what happened at the splitting of the sea, where the Torah says we saw the hand, and the Egyptians said to Pharaoh, it is the finger of God? What is the difference between a finger and a hand? And Rabbi Nissen Alpert of blessed memory explains that a finger just looks at one piece. It symbolizes just looking at the present. The Egyptians saw before their eyes, they saw the plague, they saw what was happening, and they said, it's the finger of God. They didn't see a whole picture. The hand represents past, present, and future, all at the same time. At the splitting of the sea, our ancestors, the Jewish people, declared, Zeh Keli v'Anvehu, this is my God and I will glorify him. They saw and they felt the presence of God with them then. They said, Elokei Aviv Aromimenu, the God of my fathers, and I will glorify him. They felt connected to the past. They felt connected to the promise that God made to Abraham, to Isaac, and Jacob, that I will make you from a family. I will make you a great nation. Your children will be enslaved, and then I will free them. They saw this promise fulfilled, and they connected with their past. And also, in the Song of the Sea, it says they declared, Hashem yimloch liolam voed. God will rule forever. They felt and they saw past, present, and future all at the same time. And that's why it says, Vayiru ha'ames Hashem. They were able to fear God. They were able to believe in God. They were able to connect in God. This is the key for a Jew, to feel past, present, future, all at the same time. Do you know that there are many Jews who feel past? There's a picture of my great-grandfather. He was such a rabbi. He was such a learned person, such a religious person. That's past. It's not present. It's not future. There are Jews who see the present. They look at the problems that Jewish people are facing in the world today, but not connected to the past, and they're not connected to the future. In order to truly connect to God and truly connect and understand who we are as Jews, we must see Yad, the hand, past, present, future, all at the same time. We must see past. We must see that the Romans no longer exist. The Egyptians no longer exist. The Babylonians who tried to destroy us no longer exist. The Gestapo that tried to destroy us no longer exists. But Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish people are here. We're here. We're in Israel. We're in America. And we're in all over the world. We are alive. We have to feel simultaneously with that past the presence of God. I can talk to God. I can pray to God. I connect to God. I feel his presence. And with the past and with the present, at the same time, we need to feel and believe in the future, the glorious future of the Jewish people. That this rocky, winding road that we have all experienced for centuries and centuries is leading to a glorious future for the Jewish people and a glorious future for all of mankind. As we say at the end of the Olenu prayer, V'nemar v'hoyo Hashem lemelech al kol ha'oretz. Hashem will rule over the whole world. All the world will realize that there's one God. There will be peace, unity, and serenity in the world. In order to truly connect, we've got to feel all of this at the same time. Yad, hand, past, present, and future. And the more that, and the way that we understand the Yad, the past, present, and future, that will affect everything about how we connect to God and how we connect to one another, how we connect to our fellow Jews. Because when we realize that we have a shared past, shared present, shared future, then we will come to the realization that we are all one. Kulanu achim anachnu. We're all brothers. This will affect every aspect of our spiritual life and will even affect the way we look at the world politically and how we vote. The miracle of Jewish survival is a miracle that continues on and on. There is a great miracle that happens every single day and has been happening since 1948. I'll explain. In the last election here in America, in the land of apple pie, we all know that there are two parties, two big parties. In Israel, in the last election, there were 34 parties. Can you imagine? 34 parties of Jews with differences that abound coming together to form a government? I mean, how does everyone agree? How do you collect taxes? How do you collect the refuse collection every day? How do you run the country? It's a miracle. And the miracle happens, I believe, because God sees Jews of so many different and diverse views trying hard to come together, trying hard to work together. It's true, they feel compelled, they have to, because they want to see the existence of the state of Israel. And I would like to suggest that if we too understand that the Jews in Israel, the individual Jews in Israel, are our mishpacha, our family. We are one with them. And that if we too feel compelled to love, to generate feeling, and to do everything possible as American Jews to support the security of the people of Israel, the state of Israel, the well-being of the people, all Jews, physically and spiritually, then God will indeed shower us with his blessings. And may we merit to see that day. Hashem yimloch li'olam va'ed. May we merit speedily for the great day of peace on earth to be right in front of our eyes. Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish nation is alive. And the more we are together, and the more we love each other, and the more we support each other, the more we will be blessed by Hashem. Thank you. I really would like to express our deep felt appreciation to all the wonderful people who made the production of From Apple Pie to Falafel possible through their heartfelt support. May they be blessed with joy, good health, and nachas always. Thank you.